I'm Alex Carter, 34 years old, and last Wednesday, my wife Emily was killed in a car accident. A truck ran a red light. The shock is a physical presence, a constant weight on my chest. When I called my parents, my voice shattered beyond recognition. My father said, "We're at Mark's promotion dinner right now. This is his big night. Can we handle this tomorrow?" My 7-year-old son Sam and I sat alone that night, holding each other as our universe imploded. I never imagined my family would abandon us in our darkest hour, but what they did next was infinitely worse. Emily and I met in a crowded Chicago coffee shop during a blizzard. I was trying to finish a design proposal, and she was the captivating artist, sketching in a notebook who offered me the other half of her table. Her smile was the first thing I fell in love with, followed quickly by her sharp wit and the way she saw the world in colors and shapes I couldn't comprehend. We dated for 2 years, and I proposed on a pier overlooking Lake Michigan, dropping the ring because my hands were shaking so badly. We married at 26, ignoring warnings that we were too different, the logical architect and the free-spirited artist. But Emily was my balance. She was the person who taught me to see beyond blueprints and right angles. After I started my own small architectural firm, Emily was my biggest supporter. She turned our spare bedroom into her art studio, filling our home with the scent of turpentine and the vibrant chaos of her canvases. She was just starting to gain recognition, selling a few pieces to local galleries, her dream slowly taking shape. We spent 6 wonderful years as a couple before deciding to have a child. We thought it would be a long journey, but we were surprised with Sam almost immediately. The pregnancy was a time of pure joy. I would read architectural theory to my unborn son, while Emily painted murals on the nursery walls. When Sam finally arrived, Emily cried with a joy so profound it seemed to light up the entire room. For 7 beautiful years, we were the family I'd always dreamed of. I coached Sam's little league team, learning the rules alongside him from online videos. Emily never missed a game, always there with a sketchbook, capturing the clumsy grace of 7-year-olds playing baseball. My calendar was a tapestry of Sam's activities, woven with Emily's art shows and our date nights. There were no warning signs. There was no illness to prepare us. Life was just normal. The morning it happened started like any other Wednesday. Emily made waffles her specialty, while I packed Sam's lunch. She kissed us both goodbye, promised to be home early to help Sam with his science project, and headed to her studio. Her last words to me were, "Don't forget to pick up that cobalt blue paint I need. The expensive kind, not that cheap stuff." Such a mundane final conversation. At 3:15 p.m., my phone rang. It was a police officer. His voice was calm, professional, and utterly devastating. "Mr. Carter, I'm sorry to inform you, but your wife, Emily Carter, has been in a serious vehicle accident. You need to come to Chicago General Hospital." I remember the blueprints I was holding slipping from my grasp, the crisp paper scattering across the floor. I called our neighbor Sarah to get Sam from school, then drove to the hospital in a daze, the city's sounds muffled as if I were underwater. I prayed the entire way, a desperate, silent plea to a God I wasn't sure I believed in. But I was too late. Emily was pronounced dead at 3:42 p.m., minutes before I arrived. Massive internal injuries, they said. She wouldn't have felt any pain, they assured me, as if that was a comfort. Seeing Emily's body was an out-of-body experience. She looked peaceful, almost like she was sleeping, except for the terrifying stillness and the pale, waxy quality of her skin. I kept expecting her to open her eyes, to smile, and tell me this was all a dramatic, artistic prank. The next few hours were a blur of forms and phone calls. The funeral home director asked questions I couldn't process. What kind of casket? Did she have a favorite dress? Questions that felt like a cruel joke when all I wanted to do was rewind time by a few hours. The hardest part was driving home, knowing I had to tell Sam that his mother was never coming home. How do you explain finality to a 7-year-old? How do you tell him that the mommy who made him waffles that morning was gone forever? Telling Sam about his mother was the single most difficult moment in my life. When he got into my car after school, he immediately knew something was wrong. "Where's Mommy? She promised to help with my volcano tonight," he said, his backpack clutched in his small hands. I pulled over to the curb, unable to see the road through my tears. Turning to face him, I took his hands in mine. "Sam, something very, very sad happened today. Mommy was in a car accident and she got hurt very badly. The doctors couldn't fix her." His face scrunched in confusion. "But doctors can fix everything." The innocent faith in his question shattered what was left of my heart. "Not this time, buddy. When someone gets hurt too badly, their body stops working. Mommy died today." He stared at me for what felt like an eternity, his green eyes so much like Emily's, trying to comprehend the incomprehensible. Then he asked, "Does that mean Mommy isn't coming home? Ever?" When I nodded, unable to speak, he let out a sound of such pure anguish, it felt like it tore through my own soul. He threw himself into my arms, his small body racked with sobs. "I want Mommy. Please, I want my Mommy." There was nothing I could do but hold him and cry with him, parked on the side of a busy street as the world rushed on, completely oblivious to our personal apocalypse. That evening, after I'd finally gotten Sam to sleep in my bed, clutching Emily's favorite paintbrush for comfort, the full weight of my loss crashed down on me. I sat on the cold tile of the bathroom floor, the door closed so Sam wouldn't hear, and I broke. The grief was a physical assault, a crushing pressure in my chest that made it impossible to breathe. I needed my mom and dad. With shaking hands, I called my parents. They had been married for 40 years, had weathered losses. Surely they would know what to say. My father answered on the fourth ring, the sound of laughter and clinking glasses in the background. "Alex, can I call you back? We're in the middle of Mark's promotion dinner." "Dad," I choked out, the words tearing from my throat. "Emily died this afternoon. She was in a car accident. She's gone." There was a pause. I heard him cover the phone and say something to someone else. When he returned, his voice was slightly more subdued, but still distant. "My God, that's awful. Are you sure? Maybe they made a mistake." "I saw her body, Dad. There's no mistake." The fact that I had to convince my own father that my wife was dead felt like a fresh wound. "Well, this is just terrible timing," he said. "But son, we're in the middle of your brother's big celebration. Everyone's here. We've got the whole restaurant booked. Can you hold it together tonight? We'll come by tomorrow." I couldn't believe it. My brother's promotion took precedence over my wife's death, over my son's agony. My mother got on the phone then. "Alex, this is just dreadful news. Did Emily have a good life insurance policy? You know you'll need to sort out the finances first thing." Not, "I'm coming right over." Not, "What can we do?" But a question about life insurance while my wife's body was still warm. "I can't believe this is your response," I said, my voice hollow. "My wife just died. Sam lost his mother, and you're at a party." "Now, Alex," my mother said in that condescending tone she'd used my whole life, "Mark has worked so hard for this promotion. We can't just walk out. Be reasonable." Reasonable, as if grief was a business negotiation. "Forget I called," I said, and hung up. Within minutes, my phone was buzzing with texts from friends. Emily's college roommate, my business partner, even old friends I hadn't spoken to in years, all offering condolences, asking what they could do. Strangers, practically, showed more compassion than my own family. My neighbor Sarah came over with a lasagna and just sat with me, not saying much, just being there. That first night was an eternity of darkness. Sam had nightmares, waking up calling for his mom. I lay beside him, stroking his hair, telling him stories about Emily, about how much she loved him. Eventually, he fell into an exhausted sleep. But I remained awake, staring at the ceiling, the empty space beside me in the bed, an unbearable, cold void. Emily's funeral was scheduled for Sunday, 4 days after her death. Those days were a blur of arrangements and trying to comfort Sam while I was falling apart. My parents called once to ask what time the service was and if they should expect a luncheon afterward. They didn't offer to help. They didn't ask how Sam was. The day of the funeral was cruelly beautiful, bright and sunny. Sam insisted on wearing his favorite red shirt because Mommy said it makes me look like a superhero. We arrived at the funeral home early. Emily's friends from the art community came first, their grief palpable and real. They hugged me, cried with me, and shared small, beautiful stories about Emily with Sam. My parents and Mark were supposed to arrive early, but they walked in just as the service was beginning, making a small commotion as they found their seats in the front row. My father patted my shoulder awkwardly. The traffic was a nightmare, he muttered, as if that was a valid excuse. Throughout the service, I was acutely aware of Mark checking his phone, my father glancing at his watch. Meanwhile, Emily's brother Ben was a wreck. He had flown in from London, where he worked as a journalist, arriving just hours before. He looked exhausted and hollow-eyed, having clearly not slept. He sat next to Sam, holding his hand, their shared grief a silent, powerful bond. When it was time for the eulogy, I looked at Sam, sitting there so small and brave in his red shirt, and found the strength. I spoke about Emily's passion, her kindness, her boundless love for our son. I spoke about the way she saw beauty everywhere, in a rusty fire escape or a crack in the pavement. I spoke about how she always put family first. The bitter irony of those words wasn't lost on me as I glanced at my parents, who looked vaguely uncomfortable. During the reception at our house afterward, I overheard my father talking to my uncle near the kitchen. The house alone must be worth a fortune now, not to mention her life insurance. Alex will be set for life. Mark's new business venture is a bit shaky. This could be a real opportunity to shore things up. It took every ounce of my self-control not to scream at him right there. My mother and Mark barely helped, sitting in the living room and accepting condolences as if they were the primary mourners. Meanwhile, Emily's parents, though shattered by the loss of their only daughter, were pillars of support. Her mother, Helen, took over caring for Sam, making sure he ate and shielding him from overwhelming guests. Her father, David, quietly organized the cleanup. The contrast between our families was a physical pain. 2 weeks after the funeral, I was at the kitchen table, trying to sort through a mountain of paperwork when the doorbell rang. It was my parents and Mark. "We thought we'd check in," my mother said, brushing past me. "Sam's at school? Good, we can talk." That should have been my first clue. They settled in the living room. After a few minutes of awkward small talk, my father cleared his throat. "Alex, we wanted to talk to you about your situation, your financial situation." I stared at them. "I'm not sure what you mean. Emily left us well provided for." "Yes, well, that's what we wanted to discuss," Mark chimed in, leaning forward with an eager glint in his eye. "As you know, my new tech startup hit a few snags. The initial funding wasn't quite enough. But the potential is huge, Alex, huge." "What does that have to do with me?" I asked, my voice flat. "Well," my father said, "we thought, given Emily's life insurance, that you'd be in a position to help family. A significant investment in Mark's company would not only secure his future, but would be a fantastic return for you and Sam down the line. We're your family, after all." The audacity of it left me speechless. They weren't just asking for a handout. They were presenting a business proposal, using my wife's death as seed money. You want me to invest Emily's life insurance in Mark's failing company? I asked, the words tasting like ash. It's not failing, Mark said defensively. It just needs a capital injection. Think of it as Emily's legacy, helping to build a family business. Emily's legacy, I repeated, my voice dangerously quiet, is our son. It's the art she created. It's not bailing you out of your bad decisions. My father's expression hardened. There's no need to be emotional. It's a practical matter. And frankly, Alex, Emily was always a bit of a dreamer, a bit careless. If she'd been paying more attention to the road instead of daydreaming, maybe this wouldn't have happened. In that moment, as my father casually blamed my dead wife for her own death while trying to profit from it, something inside me snapped. The grief that had left me numb for 2 weeks crystallized into pure, cold rage. Get out, I said quietly. Alex, be reasonable, my mother began. Get out of my house, I roared, the force of my own voice shocking me. How dare you? How dare you come here and blame her? She was worth 1,000 of you. You couldn't even leave a party for her. Get out! They left in a huff, my mother muttering about my ingratitude and my father about my disrespect. I slammed the door behind them and sank to the floor, shaking. That night, I found a sealed envelope in Emily's desk with my name on it, a letter. My dearest Alex, it began. If you're reading this, something terrible has happened. I want you to know you are the love of my life. But I also want to warn you. Your brother Mark approached me a few months ago, asking for a large loan for his startup. I refused. He has a history of reckless decisions. Please, my love, do not let your loyalty to your family compromise the future I want for you and Sam. Your kindness is your greatest strength, but don't let them mistake it for weakness. The next day, my father called, demanding a family meeting at their house on Sunday. This concerns all of us, Alex. Be there. I knew I had to go. I had to end this. On the drive over, Sam was quiet, clutching a rolled-up piece of drawing paper. What's that, buddy? I asked. It's a message from me and Mommy, was all he said. When we walked into my parents' house, my entire extended family was there, an ambush. My father started in on his proposal again, about family duty and fair distribution. Before I could respond, Sam stepped forward. I have something to say, he announced, his small voice clear and strong. He walked to my father and unrolled his drawing. It was a picture of our family. Me, him, and Mommy with angel wings, all holding hands inside a brightly colored house. Outside the house in the dark were 3 stick figures. That's you and Grandma and Uncle Mark, Sam said, pointing. You're outside because you weren't there when we were sad. Mommy wouldn't like that. She always said family stays inside the house, where it's warm. The silence in the room was absolute. My father stared at the drawing, his hands trembling. My mother started to cry. In that moment, my 7-year-old son had said everything I needed to say. I think we're done here, I said quietly, taking Sam's hand. Don't contact us again. As we walked out, I felt a strange sense of peace. We had lost so much, but we had each other, and we had Emily's true legacy. The love that taught us what a family really is, and the strength to protect it.